French is back, and I'm so excited. I did this for the first 25 years of my career, but it can be difficult. But take a look at the before and after. Beautiful, right? Let me show you how to up your French game to make it super crisp. Let's get started. Oh, I couldn't be more excited. So in the 80s is when I started doing nails. And I started doing French pretty much when it came in. I pretty much started doing it right away. And, you know, I was looking back at some pictures. I have very few. I think I have some I might even be able to show you. They were meh. But this is the bit that we used to make the French line. We used this. And this is what it looked like when we dug it out. I'm just going to show you. So we would carve in the French line like this. And that's what we did. And we got really good at doing that. But looking back in photos, it's not that crisp, but we didn't know any better. We didn't have any comparison. And then we got more bits like this, where we could use these bits and carve in the French line. And that certainly made it a lot crisper. They were great. I loved them. And we were able to perfect it even more. And then I think I danced. When they came out with these. Look at that, baby. So when these came out, they were more of a barrel, so straight down, just a little short barrel. They called it the 2-week fill bit, but I used it for the French bit. Then they came out with the flared, with the angle like this. This is key to making that French so crisp and so much quicker, because when you're doing French, you want to take your time in perfecting the white line. But if you carve in, as we know, nowadays we're doing the reverse French. But when you're doing a fill, you automatically do the reverse French. I just realized we were doing the reverse French a long time ago when we did fills. We just didn't do the reverse French with the new sets. We did new sets where we laid the white down first, the free edge. Then we did the pink. That's the traditional method. Now we're doing the reverse method, which is you're laying down the pink first, and then you put the free edge, the white or the black or whatever color you're doing. But whenever the person came in for a nail fill, we were doing the reverse. And then we would get this bit and carve it out so crisp. And this is how this bit works. Now I'm going to turn it off to sort of show you first, because these bits are pretty crisp and they're pretty sharp. So do this with some experience. So practice with this bit first before you start doing it, because it is a little crisp and you want to make sure you're doing it right. So what I'm trying to do is you want to think of that imaginary line like we do with the reverse, is bringing up the point to the side and bringing up to this side. And generally we want those points to match. That's where you're going to start this file, this bit. You're going to start it right in there, and then you're going to curve all the way around, and then you can even go to this side and match up. This is a brand new bit, so you want to be gentle. And then you want to carve all the way around. I'm just showing you that before we actually do it, because this bit, you don't want it to slip into the finger because you will slice the finger. And you don't want it to hit your finger because you can slice. Even if you're holding someone, let's pretend there's a finger. Let's simulate this as someone's finger. If I'm holding them, if you're filing, you could zip off, like zoo, and then zip off and hit your thumb. Or pardon me, that's a pinky, hello. So just be careful, be very mindful of that. You want to have great control of your e-file. Okay, and I would always practice on myself first to make sure that I'm getting it right before I start doing people. Okay, so I'm going to start it here. I'm going to turn it on. And it also depends on how smiley you want it. Maybe you want it a little more straight across. Most like at least a little bit of a smile, and then it's up to you how far exaggerated you want to do the smile line. So I'm going to turn it on a lower speed. I think we're doing like 6,000 RPMs, maybe 7,000. Now I'm just going to take a quick look and see where my stops and starts. Now, one thing you can do is sort of find the point of where you want to come down to. So I'm going to say we're going to come down to here. So you could dig that in if you like. See that? See, I'm just gently, you don't have to go deep. I'm just gently finding my line, going down to that point that I did right there. And then I'm finding my other side. And I'm going in, meeting that smile point that I wanted to bring it down to. And I'm going back around and grabbing it. And that angle of the V-shaped on this bit makes it so you can scoop right around without turning your hand like really far. If it was just a barrel shape, that V-shape makes it so we can carve it all the way around in basically one swoop if you wish. And you'll get there. You'll get to that point. It's very hard at first. And you're bringing it around and you're scooping it up. Oh, isn't that pretty? That's very pretty. Very happy with that. Okay, so that's what I use that bit for, and I really don't use it for anything other than that. But it is worth its weight in gold. I absolutely love that bit. I can't highly recommend that one enough. Then I will get my carbide bit, my tungsten tool, whatever I'm using, and then I will file out the rest, making it the reverse French. Okay, so then this is the next step where I've determined and I've established my smile line where I want it to be. Now this bit is not touching the smile line at all. First of all, it's got a safety top on it, so it's not going to make a sharp edge anyway. And even if I use that one that was flatter, you could use that one too. But it's not as crisp as that little guy. But then I'm going to roll this over, and now I am taking away all of the free edge. I'm going to turn this into a reverse French pretty quick. Now, whenever I do a French, especially if I'm doing a white French, I will get rid of pretty much the entire end. I will flatten it this way. Now, if you want to shorten them, of course, you can certainly go ahead and do that. What I'm turning this now into is basically a form. It is going to be my form. It's going to hold the next color. So I'm just going to go around there like this. Just take away all that thickness. You can see the fine layer. Let me turn it sideways and show you. See that ledge? So I'll bring in the towel and behind, and you can see how it's made you quite a nice little step down. That's how thin, see how thin that is? I can even make it a little bit thinner, a little bit along here. And you can see if I turn it this way, you can see the nice little French shape. Turn it sideways, and you can see quite a step down of how much of your new color you're going to put in here. Now, if you're putting white on white, even if it's white on white, you want to take advantage of this step down because whites don't blend. After a white is 4, 5, 6 weeks old, it will not blend color-wise with the new white. So you don't want to take out just the fill line and then leave the old white here and hope the new white will blend with the old white. Doesn't work. So take it out. Even if this was white, I would still take all of that out. So I'm going to put this whole area is going to be the new color. Now here's another little sort of probably next level tip for you. We're going to do black in this case. We're going to do Easy Gel. If we're going to do black, or any color for that matter, when your person turns their nail underneath or sideways, if you have this nail as wide as the nail that you want to put on, you're going to see that a little bit when you do the shapes. So we don't want to see a ton of layer of a color and then the new color. So you want to file this a little bit narrower so the new color that you put in will wrap around. And let me show you. So I am going to take, I'm probably going to just take my medium. We don't need to be too rough. So just the medium file. And I'm going to just, I love the shape that I've got here. And I'm going to keep it, but I'm going to bring this in just a little bit more so I can wrap the new color around it. Now I can go ahead and do it and then show you, and that's why I'm talking so much about it before I actually do it, because if I do it and don't show it to you, you'll wonder what I even did and won't be able to notice it so much unless the boo-boo's there when we can see the color underneath. And that's not going to be good. So I am removing, see how I'm making it a little bit thinner? It's a little bit thinner than what it was. And I'm going to make sure that this is thin. So I'm going to take a more gentler bit. Probably just the arbor band. Now what you want to be careful that you don't do is don't sever the free edge. If you do, it's not a big deal. We can just form it. But I'm sort of using my previous tip on there as a form. So I don't have to bring out a form, but you can. So all I'm doing now is making sure that this is evenly thin, and especially near the end, because we're taking the fill from the apex to the free edge, to the very free edge. But I want to thin out that free edge because the new stuff has to get thin too. So if I leave this too thick, when the new stuff goes in, if I thin it all out and the stuff below is too thick, it's going to have to bring down the top a little bit to make it thin. You're going to see too much of the bottom stuff. So I want to bring the bottom, hope that's not too confusing, but I want to bring the bottom layer down thin like a paper form, because we are leaving this on here. We're not going to take it off. Now you could just take it right away and put a form on this and do it that way if you like. That would be another way of doing it. Okay. So now I'm just going to take a look, and I'm pretty happy with that. That looks great. Lovely. Okay, so let's fill this little guy and see how beautiful it looks. Did I tell you how excited I am about French coming back? Okay. So I am going to actually fill this with black. I did pink and whites for years. And when the black came out, I just worked so hard with white. I was like, I got white down, but then the black came out and I fell in love with the black tip. So I'm just going to grab my bridge, which is to bridge between any product and the Easy Gel. And I'm just sort of painting it on quite carefully. This will make your Easy Gel stick to whatever product you're trying to make, what you're working with, what you're putting it onto. That just needs to cure for about 60 seconds. And I'm just looking for my brush tube. I think I've got the lid for one, so I can leave my hand on, make it nice and stable for the application. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my little brush and paddle to collect me color. Okay, let's get a little bit of black here. I'm just grabbing the free edge of how much I think I need. And I'm going to just do a thin layer first. Now you're working with black. Any darker color when you're working with gel, do a thinner layer. That goes for gel polish, hard gels. Do a bit of a thinner, oh, you need some alcohol. Do a thinner layer first, and that will help cure it completely right through. You won't have any questions of curing. Now I don't really have to get too picky, because the pink is thick enough. Of course, this is how we did the fills, but I'm not doing the cuticle edge right now simply because it's not really grown out. This is all quite a brand new nail. I was just focusing on that free edge, making it nice and crisp. So I'm getting fussy now because that's what we used to do, is really focusing on the line. But you don't have to do that because I'm going to buff the surface of the whole thing when I go to file it. But right now, I'm putting my hybrid gel just in this section. Many people have asked me a lot of questions lately about, is hybrid gel, because I always mention hybrid gel. I always call it hybrid gel. Mine is called Easy Gel. Exclusive Nail Couture calls it Happy Gel. Ugly Duckling, I believe, calls it Velveteen. So we all have different names for a hybrid gel. Polygel is a brand name by Gelish. So it is a brand name. That's why I always refer to it as hybrid gel. And so many people ask me, is this the same as, polygel? So it falls under that hybrid gel category. So I'm just making it nice and thin. But as you can see, I'm bringing back that shape that I carved out to make it a little bit narrower. At least the tip underneath is. And I'm making sure that it's engulfed it completely, wrapped it around it a little bit. So when you file it, all you'll see is the black. I mean, I can do this with a bit and a file, even a hand file, but I'm just lifting it so it's not drooping too far. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I will do a second layer. I just want to get my first layer of color in there, and I'm going to cure it because, again, it is a darker color, and we want to make sure whenever we're curing gel, because it's having to go through layers, you want to make sure it's a bit thinner. I highly recommend that when you're doing gel as well, gel polish. If you've got a black or a dark color, I would recommend that you go maybe 2 or 3 thinner layers of the darker color and curing in between than you would be some thicker layers, okay? That's why they don't advise one thicker layer. It just doesn't work. It's not good. Okay, let's give it a little bit of a nuke. And then we'll add one more layer and we can just throw that on. We can throw all of it on, really. Okay, so now we're going to, let me just grab a little bit more black here. Just a little bit, because we want to do 2 layers. And again, just to show you what I mean about slap it on in any old way, that's what I just did. I'm just going to throw it on there, okay? And I'm going to bring it right to the side. I mean, I don't have to go that far up, but I'm just making sure it gets right into my smile line. I'm just showing you don't have to do it in any particular fancy, beautiful style at all. I mean, you can get picky if you want to, but you don't have to with this. I don't know if you know, but whenever you're working with a hybrid gel, you want to work with it with the alcohol. I mean, unless the company specifically says that you can work with it, or you must work with it with the monomer, I would highly recommend you work with it with alcohol instead. Again, check with the particular product that you're using. The reason so is because if you don't want to take any chances of over flooding the cuticle, and especially if you're learning, and I think this product is excellent for that, you don't want to put too much monomer on top of everything. So I would highly recommend you use the alcohol. And again, you don't want your alcohol to be flooding so much either, but it's easier to work with it with the alcohol, I feel. Because you can shape this until your heart's content and make it absolutely perfect before you cure it, leaving very little to file. I mean, you can get a little bit perfectionist about it, but it's generally not my way to be a perfectionist, but sometimes I get a little bit carried away. Okay. So I'm just making sure I'm wrapping it on the sides as well, making sure that I bring it right down. So when you are working with the alcohol and your brush becomes a little bit sticky, like it won't go anymore, get yourself a little bit more alcohol. That just means it's dried out a little bit and you just need a little bit more alcohol to make it work for you. That's all. Well, isn't that just looking like a whole lot of mess? It's hard to believe that's going to turn into a beautiful nail, isn't it? Okay, I'm just messing around now. I really don't have to do any of that. So I am going to go ahead and crisp up the rest, but before, maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to do it now. I do want to mix different colors of black, like a little bit more lighter black and a lighter black for all the other ones. So we get sort of like a faded look on all of the other nails. You saw that in the photo. So I'm going to just take my black. And this is the best way to get a consistent, enough that I'm going to do like 4 fingers, right? Well, 3 fingers and a thumb. I still need to cure the rest of that one. Okay, so get rid of my black for a minute. And I'm going to do this. Maybe I'll just bring it right here so I can show you. Okay, so I'm going to grab my white and I'm going to make them sort of fade a little. So this one's going to be pure black. And then the next finger, I'm going to grab a bunch of white. I'm going to keep it predominantly black though, just sort of lighter shades of black. So just a sort of a soft ombre. Okay, so now I'm going to really think about it. So this one's going to be pure black. This one is going to be black with a little bit lighter and then a little bit lighter. And then this one will be next to this one. So it'll be black that's a little bit lighter. And the thumb, well, it doesn't usually make the photos. I try, but it doesn't really get in there. So it doesn't really matter, but I'll just go a little bit lighter on the thumb. So I'm just going to grab enough for 1 finger. They're getting smaller as I go, except for the thumb. And I'm going to grab a little bit of white because I don't really want to make it too light. I did a video just around Christmas time that I did a light gray and it was really pretty, but it was almost a little too light when I look back, you know, how you kind of reevaluate what you're doing. And I thought it was just a little too light. So I kind of wanted to do it a little bit darker. Okay, so that is actually quite nice. That is a little bit, and if I look at it, I can see the difference. That's getting a little bit lighter. So then I'm going to take some of the same amount of black that I did and a little bit more white and make it for the next finger. And this is going to be just the pinky, so I don't need much. That's nice. That's just a little bit lighter. That's what I want. So this one will be this one here. This one will be the pinky. And this one will probably be this one here. Is that light enough? Can you really see the difference? You know, it might not be quite enough lightness. So I'm just going to add a little bit more lightness in here. Might not be quite enough to be different from this one, you know? This is why you want to pre-do it. It also makes it so there's less waste because you can use them. So I'll use whatever I can out of this for the thumb. That might be a bit better. And then this one might have to go a little bit lighter just because I lightened up the ring finger, I guess it's going to be, right? Yeah, that's nice. That's lighter. Okay, that looks good. Okay, I'm happy with that one now. Now I can see the difference between this one and this one. Okay, so I just wanted to mix that up. But I'm going to put it over here and I'm going to put this on top of it while I file this one and show you how it looks. And then I'll finish off the rest. Okay, I'm just going to remove the dispersion layer, just like any product that has gel in it. You're going to have a dispersion layer, so just make sure you remove that before you start filing. I mean, if you don't, your file will get all gummed up, so it'll end up coming off eventually. It's just nicer to do it ahead of time so you don't end up, you know, gumming up your file. And if you do kind of do that, I soak my bits in acetone and it gets rid of all the crap off of your bit that gets, you know, if you ever do get it like that. Okay, so I'm just going to turn it on about 9 or 10,000 RPMs, whatever you're comfortable with. And we are going to start filing and we're going to discover that beautiful, crisp line. Here it comes, on the one side anyway. And then I've got the free edge. I'm just sort of thinning it out, making it nice and shapely. Nice. Okay, now I'm going to get my hand file and start shaping it up. Okay, if you have any file, I would recommend this little bit so you can get the little underneath. This is optional, you don't have to do this. But I remember that little part where I told you when you can use it as a form and you're going to sort of wrap it around a little. If you don't want to do that, you could really put a form on it and eliminate that. But it's also aesthetic that if you file it, you might see the color underneath. And that's why I do it a little bit narrower. So then I'm just going to just real quick, just file out just to make it a little bit smooth if it did go underneath. And that's really it. Doesn't take much. Okay. Now I'm going to get my finer file, hand file, and I'm just going to go and just tighten up my shape, make sure I'm completely happy with it. Look at that nice, adorable, crisp line. So pretty. Very nice. And I'll get this all prepped, ready for a top coat. Ready for that black to pop for the reveal. Okay, now I am going to go ahead and fill them with all of the other colors that I just made up. Okay, so I've got them all on. So pretty. Okay, oh, I'm so excited about French. Okay, now I'm going to dust them all off and now we'll put some, oh, I don't need this anymore. Okay, so let's get some top coat on it. You can use nail polish or gel polish. I prepped these for gel polish, so that's what we're going to do now. This is where they come to life. Oh, one little thing. You can get picky. It depends on how much you dust it off. You can take a little bit of alcohol on a lint-free pad would be best and remove any dust from the cuticle gel. Just You know, gel polish top coats, they just don't like to have any dust interfering with your application. Clear is more forgiving, so if you're using a color, it really doesn't like it, so do remove the dust. Sometimes I forget that. I get impatient. Okay, here we go. Top coat. Oh, look at that. So nice. Brings that French line right front and center. So pretty. Always like the French. It's just so crisp. It's so clean. I like the ombre phase, don't get me wrong. And you'll still see me doing it because it's pretty. Oh yeah, you can see when I just added a little bit of white in there, you can just see the different shades. I like that. Very, very subtle, but very pretty. So nice. Lovely. Okay, gonna nuke it and let's check out the reveals. Well, you're going to see a lot more French from me. That was awesome. So it's 2022 now. Cameraman and I started this YouTube channel 7 years ago. Can you believe it, Cameraman? Oh, 7 years ago. And never in our wildest dreams had we imagined we'd be doing it this long. We started it for very different reasons, which I can get into later, but we didn't know we were going to ever do a product line. So I want to thank everybody to the bottom of our heart, everybody who's purchased our product, supporting our channel by watching it, and all my other social media outlets that I'm doing stuff on. I'm having so much fun. So thank you so much. And I do want to mention, if anybody's interested in the other color that I'm wearing at my other hand, it's Beamy, and it is from color FO1. They're calling it, it's from the Amber collection. I just want to tell you because I absolutely love it. Thank you for joining me. And I do want to mention, if you want to check out this video in the lighter gray, it's also French, my fave. Check this video out right here.